Welcome to the podcast for and about Colorado Springs. I'm your host, Brittany Felix, and every Monday through Friday, I'll be talking about a different aspect relating to the Springs, including upcoming events, restaurant reviews, local business spotlights, media coverage about the Springs, public works projects, local activities, answering your questions about the city, and much, much more. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss any of the updates, and also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can find links to all of those social media accounts at springspodcast.com/social media. The Colorado Springs podcast is proudly sponsored by Elevation Hydration. Elevation Hydration is the only hydration therapy clinic serving Colorado Springs, and they are dedicated to helping you elevate your life. They use intravenous vitamin therapy to help athletes needing a boost of energy or help recovering after a tough competition, people experiencing cold-like symptoms or dehydration from the flu, anyone needing to recover quickly from a rough night out. I'm looking at you, college kids. And just anyone wanting a healthy alternative to preventative care. They have a wide variety of hydration packages to help address whatever your needs are. They're conveniently located inside Lush Beauty Lounge at 812 Village Center Drive, and if you mention this podcast during your visit, you'll receive $10 off any hydration package. To learn more about Elevation Hydration or to schedule an appointment, visit springspodcast.com/hydrate. Welcome to episode 3 of the Colorado Springs podcast. As I mentioned in yesterday's episode, today I'm going to be talking about the Pikes Peak Summit Complex project. If you're aware of it, maybe you don't know all the details, maybe you've heard about it, maybe you've seen a couple things in the newspaper or on TV, but today I'm going to provide some more details. If you have not heard about it yet and what exactly is going on and what this Summit Complex project is, then I think this is going to be very interesting for you. Obviously, Pikes Peak is a very important part of this region, and it's just an incredible place to go out and explore and drive up or ride up or bike or hike, however you want to get up to the top. But it's just incredible, not only the views, but the memories that can be made, the education that can be learned, just all kinds of wonderful opportunities that Pikes Peak affords us. Now, taking into consideration the extremely harsh conditions up at the top, the current Summit House is not quite what it used to be. And so instead of just continuing to put money into repairs and maintenance for the current Summit House, knowing that it just doesn't quite live up to the needs of the mountain and the needs of the city and the 600,000 plus visitors that make it to the top every year, it has been decided to build an entirely new summit complex. And I say complex because it's actually going to be 2 buildings. One building will be a new summit house. It'll be a visitor center. Connected to it will also be the Pikes Peak multi-user communication facility, which is going to be operated by Colorado Springs Utilities. And I'll dive more into the summit house here in just a second, but real quick, the second building is actually going to be a research laboratory operated by the U.S. Army Research of Environmental Medicine. So there's going to be a lot more going on up at the top than there currently is. One of the key elements of this project is to have everything be as unobtrusive to the environment as possible. They want to preserve the mountain and make sure that it's going to be available and accessible for generations to come. So they're being very careful about how they go about building it and how it's going to be operated once it's complete. The new visitor center will include solar energy panels and will be constructed at the southeast corner of the summit site. And this is partially to be oriented to maximize that solar energy. And the new location is also going to help provide shelter from the harsh conditions up top. And it's also going to be nestled into the mountain instead of sitting on top of the mountain, which is going to help minimize the look of it. And that will really give a chance for the true summit of Pikes Peak to rebound from all of the heavy traffic and construction that is currently happening and going to be happening. The Summit Visitor Center will have outdoor dining, observation decks, interactive touch walls, permanent interpretive exhibits relating to the climate and conditions, Native American and Spaniard history, conservation efforts, bar trail, marathon, Pikes Peak hill climb, tourism, you name it. If it's related to Pikes Peak, they're going to have some information on it. So it's not only going to be a place to just go up there and look at the incredible views or to be the final destination of your trip for the day or your test of athleticism. It's going to be a truly interactive and educational experience. Now, there is a pretty incredible video that the city of Colorado Springs has released. They call it a fly-through of the new Summit Visitor Center. And it shows you what their current design is and just how it's going to work with the mountain and really help maximize the views and the experience for the visitor while minimizing the impact on the environment. So if you want to take a look at that video, I actually have it in the show notes for this episode on my website. And you can find those at springspodcast.com/003. And those are the actual numbers, 003. I'm also going to have links to some other things that I talk about in today's episode. So basically anything that you hear me mention will be included in those show notes. So if you want to learn more about this project, you absolutely can, and those resources are going to be there for you. So now, if you don't know about the project, you might be wondering what's going to happen to the existing Summit House or how long this is going to take or how this is all going to work because there's only so much space up top. The short answer is that the existing Summit House will stay there until the completion of the new Summit Visitor Center. Construction is scheduled to start in the summer of this year. It's going to be broken up over the next few years, so construction will happen in phases from the beginning of June to the end of October this year, next year, and in 2019. In the summer of 2020, they're going to put the finishing touches on the new buildings, and they are going to remove the old Summit House structure at that time. Now, the construction periods are obviously when they are to make the construction possible. It would be pretty difficult to do this in the winter. Unfortunately, it also coincides with the busiest times on the mountain. So, for safety reasons, limited passenger vehicles will be allowed access to the summit during those construction times. During this time, a free summit shuttle will transport visitors to and from a designated parking location at Devil's Playground, which personally, I think I might almost enjoy better because if you've ever driven to the top of Pikes Peak instead of taking the railway, you know that parking can be a little bit tricky up there sometimes. Now, I don't know if they're going to have stops along the way to, check out the sites or visit any of the overlooks or anything like that. I imagine all that's going to get worked out. But I think providing this free shuttle service is a wonderful solution to the issue of having excess traffic up at the top during construction. And I think the inconvenience will be more than worth it once the project is finished because this is something that should go on to really help represent just how we feel about this mountain, how proud we are of it, and help carry on the legacy of it being America's mountain and us showing the rest of America and the rest of the world just how spectacular it is. So a little bit more information about how it's going to be set up once it's all finished. The COG Railway will make 8 trips per day. There will be 162 parking spaces plus 10 motorcycle parking spaces. There will be a drop-off area for passenger buses. There will be 12 bicycle lockers installed for day use. The existing trails will still be there, as well as some new trails are going to create up at the top, which I think is a fantastic idea. They're going to be elevated, they're going to be paved to help keep people off of the mountain as much as possible up top to limit the damage caused by all of the foot traffic. And there will also be elevators, ramps, and other options installed for those with disabilities so that everyone can continue to enjoy America's mountain. I do want to mention that a portion of the original 1800s era Summit House will remain as a historical marker, so not all will be new, and we're going to keep some of that incredible history. If you would like to learn more about this project, there are several resources in the show notes, as I mentioned earlier, including a fact sheet which has a lot more information than I have discussed here today, including information about construction, the exhibits that are going to be there, how much the project cost, who the design firm is, all kinds of information. And there is also a link in those show notes to a design survey. While it appears that the design has pretty much been decided upon and they're going forward with it, I would imagine they are still constantly wanting feedback from those who are visiting the mountain on a regular basis and who will be enjoying the new facilities once they have been constructed. So if you would like to check out that fact sheet, take that design survey, watch the awesome fly-through video, or just check out the more information on the City of Colorado Springs website, go to springspodcast.com/003. That's going to wrap it up for today. And I also want to invite you to come back tomorrow, where I am going to review a local restaurant in downtown Colorado Springs. And one last thing before I sign off, I want to invite you to follow the Colorado Springs podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can easily find links to all of those by just going to springspodcast.com/social media. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I cannot wait to have you back tomorrow.